is your Classic Metal Show right here on theclassicmetalshow.com. That is brand new stuff from a sort of brand new band, or brand new band, but certainly not brand new guys. That's Sons of Apollo. Name of that tune was Coming Home from the Psychotic Symphony release. And on the line, a guy that knows a thing or two about being psychotic. It is our good friend, the one and only lead vocalist of Sons of Apollo. It is Jeff Scott Soto. Jeff, how are you, man?
I'm great, Chris. Yourself?
Excellent, dude. Couldn't be better.
I'm going to have to call you on that. You were about to call us old. I heard you were going there, man. I heard it. Well, they're not so new. I heard it. I heard where you're going there.
I meant the other guys, not you, man.
It's all good, man. No, as we spoke before we started this, life is really good right now. I'm at a really good place. I'm stressed beyond words because I'm promoting 2 albums simultaneously.
Sure.
But and that wasn't by design either. It just kind of happened that way. But you know what? We make it happen. And as far as I'm concerned, bring it on.
No doubt, man. Well, let's start with Sons of Apollo, man. Which for the record, I think is absolutely brilliant. It's I don't want to say it steps out for you because obviously way back in the day you did a little bit of progressive type stuff with Yngwie, but you haven't done it in a long time. So yeah. Starting with that, was that kind of a different switch for your head, I guess, to come in and to write this kind of music and to make your style fit with this?
Well, if I got to be honest with you, when Mike called me and asked me to do this with him, because originally the idea was to do a vocal album with PSMS, which was way more fusiony and way more instrumental oriented than Sons of Apollo ended up being, I said yes. Before I even finished this sentence, I said yes, because it's been a bucket list of mine to be able to do an album with Billy and with Mike. Okay. And then when I hung up the phone, I actually got a little scared shitless thinking, hang on, I've never done an album like this. What makes me think I can actually keep up with these guys? So until they actually started writing and getting the material together, I was worried that maybe I wasn't the guy for this. And it's funny because I've heard Bumblefoot say the same thing. I think we all had a different idea of where this was supposed to go. And once the actual work started, it went a completely different direction. And everything just started falling into place. Sure.
Now, I watched quite a few of the videos that you guys did leading up to the project, the kind of like the creation of, and sure. It was in my eyes as a straight outsider, just kind of looking in and discovering about the band basically through those videos. It was very surprising to me how much of a lead Derek seems to have taken with the creation of this. Was it indeed Derek that was kind of pulling a lot of the strings, and at least creatively?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It all started with Derek's ideas musically. Again, the Del Fulvio brothers, they've been at this for a while as far as finding the time to do this, when they were going to do it. And because Mike is all over the map doing way more than any of us can ever imagine, dream of, mm-hmm. Derek had more time to actually hone in on the stems and where this was actually going to start from. He was sending me song ideas that were just him on a keyboard, no drum machine, no drum loop, just to kind of get an idea musically and kind of transitionally where we were going to be heading with this. It was kind of like doing a Star Wars movie where you got to pretend the dragon's coming at you, and you got to pretend that you have a lightsaber, and you do all this action stuff, and then you get all the CGI put in later that matches all the movements you did. It was exactly the same thing when Derek sent me these ideas. I had to envision what they were going to sound like with Mike in the background, Billy and the guitars and everything, and immediately I got excited. I knew this was going to be fantastic. Sure. And then obviously when the guys got together, I was on tour finishing a Soto tour in Europe. They got together and started blasting this stuff out in the studio and sending me songs day after day. They were just knocking these things out. And I'm like, these things are masterpieces. I mean, these are just the skeletal tracks, and already I couldn't believe the work that they were churning out in the record time that they were doing it in.
Sure. Now I have to imagine, only because I think everybody in the band is also in another band, that there had to be some pieces that people were bringing in that they probably pulled off the table because they felt like it was from, their solo thing or Art of Anarchy or Winery Dog. You know what I mean? Like like elements of their other bands, and yourself included, that would get brought in and then pushed away. Was there any of that where you guys were kind of fighting, not amongst yourselves, but amongst your own careers?
I hate to say you're right, but you're absolutely wrong. Every single note, every single idea was completely developed for these songs, for this band. There was nothing I brought in from anything else I was working on, or this was a lyric that I didn't use, or everything was absolutely brand new from the first keyboard note to the last drum hit.
Okay, very cool. Well, and that's cool, man. It's just it's hard. Maybe it's because I'm dull and not creative like you guys are. Like, you know, I can't create like that. I can't just say, okay, now I'm gonna. You know, I write books on the side, and I can't go and say, well, you know what? Today I think I'm going to write a book about a firehouse and this, and then tomorrow I'm going to write a biography. I can't do that. I'm stupid, I guess. Where you guys just seem to have a lot more, especially you. I mean, if anybody that can listen to your career, you know, your catalog from start to finish and not get a headache just from the switches and turns and changes is better man than me, you know?
Well, again, it's not by design. It just kind of happened and fell into my lap that way, and I couldn't be happier about the situation. I mean, I get to do what I love for a living. I get to live out my dream, and now I've extended that dream into being in a band with these guys. I mean, I'm still so overwhelmed. I fanboy every once in a while, just thinking, hang on a second, I'm in a band with Billy Sheehan. You know, pinch me. This is awesome. But and then when we get together, these are people I've known. Billy, I've known the longest. I've known him since 1985 when we did the first Yngwie tour and Talus was opening up. And, you know, this was 33 years ago that I first met Billy and we shared the stage together. Now we're sharing the stage together in a band. Sure.
Now for the future, I guess, can this actually be a band? I mean, are you guys' schedules going to allow this to tour and grow and, you know, and be a band, or do you not know that far in advance yet?
This was one of the contingencies in doing this, and this is something that was a very serious conversation that we had before anybody committed to this, that this is a real deal, that we have to make sure that we're committing our lives to doing this. 2018 is basically Sons of Apollo's year. We're not doing anything else on the side. We're not. I think maybe some recordings and some stuff in between legs of the touring, but next year it's going to be solely for all of us Sons of Apollo.
Okay, so let me play.
And it's a real band. We're not bullshitting around here. It's not just a project or something we're going to see if it sticks and then we'll continue. No, we're following through with this thing. There's a massive commitment from the record company. There's a full commitment from the guys in the band, and you know we're in for the long haul on this.
Sure. So let's play this out. Let's say Coming Home gets big, whatever that means in today's market, but it gets big and it's selling and it's doing and it's making the band, you know, the profitable entity that you guys need it to be to stay on tour for a year and a half, 2 years. If that was the case, do all of you agree that you could end your other projects to focus on this for a 5 or a 10 year, you know, run?
We've all made that commitment. Yes. Okay. We've all said, obviously we're going to do whatever it takes to make this thing pop. But if for some reason it overtakes our careers and everything else we have going on and consumes everything that we normally have going, of course we're going to have to put that aside because we're going to focus on making this band exactly what we set out to make it. It's not a project. It's not something we're just farting around with.
Sure.
You know, just a bunch of guys getting together and putting our past and our careers together. We're really in this for the long haul, and I think you can hear it in the music.
Definitely, man. Well, I have to say, while I do love this, I have to say it comes with a little bit of disappointment in that I think it means the end of the Soto band, which I was loving. Absolutely love both
absolutely
of those.
not.
No?
In fact, it's exactly what I was just saying as far as recording and getting stuff done in between the SOA tour. We'll have time off in between. I'll even be working on new Soto stuff while I'm on tour with these guys because, especially in the summertime when you're doing festivals, there's a lot of open days, there's a lot of weeks in between festival dates. We're not going to be doing a solid tour in between festival dates. I'm going to have enough downtime that we've already discussed exactly what we're going to do, and Soto's absolutely a priority in my life. Okay. That is, especially now with losing Dave Z, our bass player, I have to follow through with this as I said I would, and I want to do this for him as well.
Very cool. And you brought that up. Let's talk about that for a minute. I don't want to dwell on that other than,
sure.
Tragic loss, and especially for you, it's been a year of loss, with
sure.
your brother and obviously Z as well.
And Paul O'Neill from Trans-Siberian Orchestra. I mean,
right.
I've been hit three ways to Sunday. It's been a hell of a year, to say the least.
Does that?
But with that comes the glory. I get the negative, but the positive is what's happening in my life, and I'm able to reflect on that. And I have a mission now. Everything all the losses and all the heartache and heartbreak, my mission now is to use all the good and find a positive through it all.
Sure. And I guess when you look outward and you see that happening, it really makes you appreciate what you have, today, because certainly, and I'm going to imagine in all three cases, you would have, if you'd asked day one of 2017, you would have thought that all three of those guys would be toasting you at the end of 2017, right?
Absolutely. And more so out of the three, my brother was the most excited about this new band. When I told him it was going to happen, because my brother, he was the first drummer I ever played with. He was a drummer all our growing years, and we were in all the same bands together all the way until I got the Yngwie gig. That's kind of where we parted finally, and I was I was doing other things from a different level at that point. But right. All my growing years, he was the one that showed me metal music. I hated hard rock and heavy metal until he started listening to it, and then I wanted to be like my big brother. Right. So I got into Motley Crue and Rush and Van Halen and all the great stuff that I love today because of him.
Right.
And he was so excited that I was going to be in a band with Mike Portnoy that I know he would have absolutely loved this album.
Right. Yeah. It's sad, man. It's weird. It's weird how life does, I'll say challenge, because I'm having the same kind of a thing this year. My son, who's 24, going through cancer, and it's like, how do you ever envision that happening?
That's nuts, man. I'm so sorry to hear it.
Well, he's beating it, so that's the good thing. But
that's great.
But I guess my point is that you, right when you start thinking at any point, and this is me, and I'm assuming you too, because you've had quite a few really good years, with the solo stuff was doing good. The Soto stuff has been gaining momentum. Obviously, the
right.
TSO stuff is, very, very cool for you and very impressive and
very solid. Yeah.
And all of a sudden life steps in and reminds you real fucking hard that, don't get too excited because we can bring you right back down,
Absolutely. It's, that's one, especially as we get older, we're at this stage of our lives.
Mm-hmm.
We when you're younger, you feel indestructible. You party, you do all the things that you just say, I've got decades to not have to worry and deal with this stuff. And then when you get here and you start seeing family and your friends dropping, whether it's for natural causes or for complete fluke accidents,
right.
You just have a whole new outlook on life, and you want to take care of yourself. You want to take care of people around you more. You just have a completely different attitude on how you're dealing with life at that point.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. Well, let's get out of
right on. Yeah,
let's get out of that
positive stuff.
Yeah, let's get out of that. Let's go to more positive stuff. Let's talk your other record right now, which I hate even considering it as a secondary release, but
right.
Let's talk about Retribution. Sounds like, and I have not heard the whole thing yet, but from what I've heard, it sounds like you're kind of picking up where Damage Control left off with that one.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to go back even further to more the Lost in the Translation.
Okay.
It's got you will hear other elements of the, not necessarily the Prism album, but certainly the one I did with Howie back in 2005 or maybe 4 it was. I think it was 2004. I've lost count of the years. But and that's one of the reasons I brought Howie back into the process, because he had a lot of great songs that he's been building, and he hasn't used. Going back to what you were mentioning earlier about Sons of Apollo, did we use anything that was recycled?
Mm-hmm.
He had a bunch of songs that were never finished. he's always working on stuff in his home studio and churning out songs, but they're songs for somebody to come in and either finish with lyrics or melodies or both. And when I went to him about doing this album, because I had a pocket of time I could do it by, and by the time I had to turn it in, he was the same. He had a small pocket. Everybody's got a small pocket of time, it seems, these days. What happened to the old days when everybody was free as a bird? We could work for a year on things.
Right.
But Howie had a bunch of songs, and I wanted to go back to that sound and what we had together on those early solo albums. And from that, you're going to hear a lot of Talisman influence, because Howie had a short stint with Talisman, and there were actually a few songs that he wrote. He was going to present to Talisman, but we never got that far into doing that last album because Marcel took his life, and another tragedy that I had to deal with. So they've been just sitting for years, and he never finished them. And I said, please let me hear these songs. And every single one he said, I'm like, dude, this is great. This is great. I can turn this one into something. And it's just one after the other. And then there were a few new ones that he wrote right there on the spot. But for the most part, they were just tunes that were sitting there waiting to be finished.
Right.
And that's what we did.
Very cool, man. Now, what could I send you that you wouldn't be able to turn into music, man? Because and I guess maybe because I, as you're well aware, I'm a huge fan, and it seems like everything you do, you're willing to try different styles, and I'll especially point to Beautiful Mess, which really stretches far beyond what you had ever been known for, but you did it well. What do you think what do you think you would not be able to do? Like jazz fusion or something?
I think if you asked me to do like a Mexican punk rock polka, I think that's probably where I draw the line. No
country album coming from you?
You know what? And that's one thing. That's one thing that people ask me. Would you ever consider doing a country album or song or even just a recording or session? I honestly think I could pull it off. I don't know how authentic it'll sound to people who love and only listen to country music.
Right.
But I think I could make it sound more country than, say, Steven Tyler's supposedly country album that he put out. Because all that was country music with Steven Tyler singing on top. It sounded like Aerosmith doing a country song.
Right.
But I think I could emulate, because I've listened to enough and I've been around enough friends and that don't even like rock music, and I've absorbed enough of the country stuff that I think I could actually delve into it and make it sound authentic. Well, to me, anyways. But who knows?
Right.
Definitely. Not really. It's not on my bucket list of things to do, but I think I could actually pull it off.
I think long before you're doing country music, you'll at least run at least one time through the Queen camp, right?
Well, I've dabbled into that for years. I have such a blast doing that catalog.
Sure.
And it's funny because I see Portnoy does a lot of tribute shows, like to his idols. Like he's done the Beatles thing, he's done the Zeppelin, Rush,
Floyd, Pink
Floyd, the Who. He's done these tribute shows, and he's put out DVDs from them, and it's so cool to see that somebody still appreciates the music and still is a fan of these bands, and his own career didn't consume the ideal of where it all started from, and I love that.
Sure,
you know, we're 50 years old and we're still fanboys. It's fucking great.
Yeah, no doubt, man. Well, let me ask one touchy one, and it's not that touchy, and I'm gonna hit.
Here we go. Here, I knew it was coming.
It's coming, but it's not what you're thinking, and I'm gonna. It does have to do with the Yngwie thing that happened 2 months ago or 3 months ago, whatever that was. But I don't want to dwell on that as much as I just wanted to ask you if you were surprised, I guess, because you really have never really talked about it up until Yngwie took a shot at you recently.
Right.
And again, I don't want to dig up the past, other than, were you surprised that after you had kind of taken the high road for decades, that he would all of a sudden just feel the need to shit on you and Doogie and everybody that's, been in the band? Well,
I took it with a grain of salt, because I could see he was answering a general question, and again, because it was a textual interview. It wasn't an audio interview where you could hear what he was saying and the context of how he was saying it.
Okay.
From what he said, I could see he was generalizing the answer about how he did. He's written to all the lyrics and all the melodies and blah, blah, blah. He's done it for so long since our tenure with him, since Joe Lynn and I, and we're talking 30 years back. He probably doesn't remember that far back our involvement, and that we were way more involved than he's got in his memory bank. But because he's been doing everything himself for so long, he's now washed everything away that we did with him and for him.
Right.
And that's I think that's where the statement kind of got convoluted. And so my reply was more sarcastic, like I was self-deprecating and say, yeah, well, of course, why would he want to work with a hack like me or Joe Lynn Turner? And
right.
And then I kind of threw in this factual stuff that, by the way, I did co-write that and the other, whatever, just so people that even gave a damn and read what was going on there, they would just actually have the facts. I didn't want to turn it into a pissing match. I wasn't looking to get any drama or any attention from it.
Right.
I was just kind of sarcastically saying, whatever. And that's my way of dealing with anything in the past, especially painful situations.
Sure.
I put on a sarcastic wit behind it, and I walk away from it because I just don't have the time or the energy in my life to start pissing and moaning about what people did and how they did it.
Right. Bottom line is,
Joe Lynn, on the other hand, took it to another level.
Yeah, well, yeah, he definitely did. Bottom line, are people just way too sensitive or way too looking for a fight?
Absolutely.
It's crazy.
And that's just, the internet is probably the biggest supporter of that. We can fight from afar now, where something is said and is passed on and filtered down to so many other people. By the time it gets to somebody else, it can be a war of words, but it would be from afar. Now it's just an immediate Twitter or a social media thing, and you're basically at war with people,
right,
with just words. It's just context, words. It's just ridiculous. Yeah. So I've got way too much going on in my life to get involved with that, and I'm not going to turn into Donald Trump and just Twitter wars, and it's whatever.
Right. I hear you, man. Instead, you're just going to focus on lots of new music. Sons of Apollo, that is out. Was that out next week?
Yes, sir. 2 weeks from today.
Okay. So that's what, the 20th? Is that right?
The 20th, yeah.
Okay, excellent. And then when is Retribution hitting?
20 days after, November 10th.
Okay.
The 20 is a big number.
Yeah, no doubt, man. Well, dude, where can people keep up with you, find out where you're going to be, find out tour dates, all that kind of stuff? JeffScottSoto.com is your main source, and obviously my artist page on Facebook. I personally put a lot of stuff there myself. When something's up, it goes on there immediately, and then obviously my page feeds off that. So I would say the Facebook page, the official Jeff Scott Soto Facebook page, is the one to get the on-the-minute information. Excellent. Well, Jeff, you know the drill, man. We always let the artist pick a closing track from the new record, so why don't you pick something from Sons of Apollo, maybe tell us a quick story about it, and we'll wrap up with that.
Well, one of the first songs I actually wrote from soup to nuts, lyrically, melodically, and as soon as Mike heard it, he goes, "Dude, this is a radio song. This is going to be the one that I think people are going to remember the most, and you're going to shine hard on this song." And it was a proud moment for me because I made these guys smile with something I came up with, so that song would be alive.
All right, well, let's check it out right now. This is brand new stuff. It's Sons of Apollo right here on your Classic Metal Show.